some news there in the last little while, Rory, and from a refereeing point of view, I'd be curious to see your thoughts on it. So there was that Naomh Barrow versus Oulart Dibala brawl that involved players, mentors and supporters. I think we all saw the videos in recent times, but I see the Examiner have a report saying that they understand a minimum of 6 bans have been issued to players, and at least one supporter member may also have been recommended for a penalty. Some players have received bans up to 12 months. In terms of like things coming to a boil or going over the top, you know, either in the stands or on the field, what's it like as a referee? Are things getting better or worse? Is social media just highlighting what was already there and things haven't really changed?
Yeah, it was already there. That's always been there. And debate, you know, no disrespect to any county official in any county in the country, but what they tried to do is bury stuff like that, and that happened years ago, and it'll still go on. But now everyone has a phone in their pocket, and decent phones as well. Whereas you might have had a sketchy video years ago, you're going to get 6 videos from every angle now. So it's being highlighted more, but that's a positive as well. Like if you can highlight it more, maybe it won't happen as much. You know, one instance that type of thing happened to me once in a hurling match over in Cusack Park, and there was hurleys flying, and it was a stage where I just had to stand back. You know, I used to ref both when I was reffing here in Clare. It's scary. It's scary if you're the referee and you're expected, and they're all looking at you as, how are you going to stop this? And sometimes you just can't, you know. But it's not nice to watch. Yeah, I mean, I'm sick in the face of looking at stuff like this happening in the GA. Sport I love, sport I grew up with, and it descends into that chaos. You know, it's not nice. But I think, to be fair to the Uachtaráin, he's trying to grab a hold of this and trying to get it all the way down to grassroots level. But it has to start with education. You know, it has to start with the 4 and 5 year olds. Like they 4 and 5 year olds try every sport, don't they? You know, 4, 5, 6, they try everything. They'll go and play tennis, they'll go and play rugby or whatever. So they go to the soccer match, and that's not so great. They're screaming at the ref, and they go to the GA match where their mammy and daddy are absolutely bawling the ref out of it from the start to the finish. But they go up tennis rugby club up the road and they go over the wall. No one speaks to the referee. No one speaks to the referee bar the captain, and that's it. You know, so if they can get that down to grassroots level and get it started inside in the schools, it's going to be a generational thing. It's not going to be a quick fix. But I think they realise that I only got to retire last Friday week. Would you believe that? As I haven't reffed a match since a Hogan Cup final, Naas and Enniskillen in 2019 was my last match. And you know, there was a global pandemic went on and whatever. So, and I got the bit of slate there the other day. Very proud of it there. It's in a prominent place when you come in the front door. But I only got to retire the other night, and we were all up there. I was sitting at the table next to Dickie Murphy there from Wexford, and Willie Barrett there on the table next door, and I didn't know them lads over the year, and we were just talking about it, and they agreed to me. You know, it was always there, but it's a generation thing. It's going to take years to fix.
And do you get a sense that there's an appetite in the GA to go down that role, the road that rugby has gone down, in terms of like captain is the only person who speaks?
Yeah, well, you know, something has to be done. They've tried playing with the playing rules for the last 15, 20 years. I'm old enough to remember where you couldn't kick the ball back into your own half, and you couldn't do more than 3 hand passes, and then the referees going around counting hand passes and everything. We'll try something with the discipline now. You know, try something different. Like you'll get the argument from the hardcore lads that'll tell you that, oh, rugby's a professional sport. We'd never attain anything like that. Look, when I started in GA and you go to an inter-county game, you got a flag and you're on the sideline. Now we're all mic'd up, we're speaking as good as we're speaking now. Technology has moved on. And you know, the disciplinary system has to move on as well. You know, how many times have we seen lads get suspended and they're overturned inside? I'm not going to say a courtroom, but it's like a courtroom. Every player arrives at a barrister and a solicitor now, you know, and they've combed through the rules of GA. They need to scrap that first of all, scrap the disciplinary system, scrap the way they do it, and go back to basics. But it's going to take years to sort out. But I think it's something they can do, and it's something they have to do, because other sports are laughing at us. So, okay, let's take the parent that's arrived to Ennis, and they've moved down because Ennis is between Limerick and Galway, and their little Mary or the little Johnny starts with their Ogue across the road. But they're trying those other sports around Ennis that are there, and one match above an Éire Óg descends into chaos, and they're kicking the living chases out of each other out in the pitch. They're going, no, I'm not going to do that. So the G are going to lose out, and kids are going to go off and play rugby because there's better discipline in it. Or they're going to go off and play tennis. So the G are competing with other sports. That's the point I'm making. And if they don't start competing in the disciplinary ranks, they're going to lose the kids and lose them early on.
And just something that you said there, Rory, as well, the disciplinary system as well, even how covert it all is. Like, it's so hard to find out. I don't know how many times I've, rang a county chairman or secretary about some big brawl in some county. Okay, a probe has been launched, investigation has been launched. When you go to try and find the result of that probe, it's just, I have a carpet here in front of me and it's just underneath that and you cannot find it and no one will tell you. And you'll find out maybe a year after that some fella got a 48-week ban or someone got a 96-week ban, but it won't be publicised. They don't want to publicise it. Like, you get, Shane, I'd say, when was the last time you got an email from the DRA? We might get something from the DRA maybe every 3 years, but not every case. It's such a weird kind of disciplinary system. And something I'd just like to ask you as well about, you said about appeals being overturned. How much of a kick in the teeth is that to a referee when you make a call and you're happy with that call and you stand over that call, and then all of a sudden, Friday night it comes out before some big game that appeal has been overturned, because it is undermining your responsibilities, your stature as well. And like, I don't know how many times there's been some amount of successful appeals in the last couple of years. I can't remember the last appeal that failed, to be honest with you. And it does denigrate the referee's authority.
It does, of course. I'll tell you a good one now in a minute, but any referee that tells you that they're not upset by them issuing a red card and it getting overturned is telling lies. Of course you are. It kicks you in the teeth. You walk up the street, you walk over to the jail, your man got off, and they're all laughing at you. I was sitting in, I was after going from Shannon to London, and I was sitting in Heathrow, and I was waiting for a plane to go to the North American Games. They were on in San Francisco. The Sunday before, I was lining for Morris Deegan above in Croke Park. You'll remember this incident. And Diarmuid Connolly went out with the fists once, twice. Do you remember that? Deegan was reffing. I was straight across from it. So I spoke to Morris. He came over for the chat, and he put off Diarmuid Connolly. You remember that one? So, who
was that against, Rory? Sorry.
All-Ireland football semi-final. Donegal, was it? Can't remember.
Oh, yeah. 14.
Remember,
it was
so
14.
Right in front of the 21, in front of the Hill 16. He went into the chest, into the face with double fist action. So, sorry,
it was the 2011 semi-final. Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
I was lying for Morris anyway. So Morris rang me. I was sitting in the airport. I thought he was ringing to wish me well. I says, have a good week now in America. You'll be grand. So I was going out to ref the North American Games. He says, your man is after getting off. He says he's going to play in the All-Ireland. I called it. Morris said he's back to him at the time. So, we thought we'd made a good call on the day. And that was the start of it. That was the start. Well, maybe not that incident, but around that time was the start of the high profile. He'll get off. And you kind of knew. And there was even a motion went to Congress one time that no player should miss an All-Ireland final, be it a hurling. Do you remember that one? That was floating around. But that came up at a referees meeting in Croke Park. And we said, lads, so he cuts the head off a guy, right? If he's a hurley in his hand. Or he boxes him clean into the jaw. And he'd miss it.
That'd be terrible if he missed that.
Be awful if he missed. And that's the mentality. But that's the problem that the GAA have. And that mentality creeps into it. And no due respect to any of the guys that sit in these committees that work so hard for the GAA. It's not them at all. And it's not personal towards them. It's the system. That system is broken. I heard Pat McInerney speaking, I don't know what program is on there a couple of months ago. And he's right. He's dead right. System's broken, needs to be scrapped, start again. Attitude is broken, needs to be scrapped. Where do kids take that in? Where do they sponge that into their brains? Right into primary school. I was on with Darren Frell there for Sunday Sport when I retired, and the lad of the Amaras, and we were speaking about that. And Brian Gavin came up with a super idea. Brian was the same as me now. We were heading out the gap, lads coming up along, and we were heading for the road. But he had a super idea that when lads like me retire, that the GA take them on not a part-time basis, but just give them their expenses. Send them into the schools one morning a week and bring them out, show them, referee their little games after the training session. Maybe there's a games development officer in the school or something like that, And then they have a face. So then they see, back in the day, then they see Brian Gavin, or then they see Barry Kelly, or even Morris retired now last Friday week. They see him, here's a GA referee. He spoke to me. He's friendly. So they go to their under 12 game or whatever on a Friday evening. They mightn't see me, or they mightn't see Deegan, or they mightn't see the boys. But, that was the ref that was in during the week. And the referee speaks to them before the game, maybe at their under 12 or under 14 game. But a link is made from when they're 4 or 5 years of age inside in the school. We've a games development officer now at the moment, Keane O'Dea, plays for Clare. His club is Kilfenora. He does hurl with us. but he's been a revelation, an absolute revelation. We spoke about it at a load of AGMs. Keane goes to all the schools around, and then he comes into here, he's attracting kids in. They don't call him, he's Coach Keane now. He's not Keane O'Dea. He's Coach Keane, but something like that, on some sort of a basis on a refereeing level, that you see the referee before your first interaction with a referee is up at under 12s or under 14s. Mammy and daddy already have their impression in their brain. They start screaming at the guy, and then the players start screaming at the guy. They think it's okay because mammy and daddy's screaming at something like that. A bit of deep thinking from the GA. There's some super people involved in it, but they have to do something else, because they just lose the players. The mum and dads will take them away, or there'll be a bad experience for a boy or a little girl. There'll be some bust up, and they go, I'm not going to play in that game anymore.
And they'll lose the referees as well, Rory, because no one's going to want to do it as well. Like you see it now, like you say it to anyone that gets involved in refereeing, you say fair play. I probably wouldn't do it myself. You must be mad, because what's thrown at you on a given day is some days it'll be fine. If it's a one-sided game or whatever, then there's other games, and it's open season for what can be thrown at you, said to you. Do you know what I mean?
I'd love to see a stat. In different counties around the country that how many guys or girls started refereeing and lasted more than one season. I'd love to see it, because I know in Clare I can walk around the town and pick out 5 or 6 guys and girls that had one bad experience and left. And good solid referees. We used to do the foundation level courses when we were serving referees. They sent us off there with a tutor from the Munster Council, or you'd have someone, they used to be a crossover. Leinster guys used to come over, and you'd be there with the tutor, but the new referees would have a face. But what I'm saying, that should start at primary school level. But I'd love to see how many, they'd have a list of those people that started and how many are left now. When I started, I got injured. I was playing senior football and hurling across the road here, and I got injured, and I was out for a while, and I was sent off by the club chairman at the time, Mike Mack, my neighbour next door, sent me down to do the course. And within 4 years, I'd refereed the county hurling final. 2 years later, the county senior football final. And I was 15 years refereeing inter-county football. Then they decided at the time they needed more inter-county football lads. So I turned into a career referee. I wasn't the greatest player, but I turned into a career referee. But that's not happening now. They're speaking to guys, maybe they're subs on their senior team or on their junior team. But if you can make refereeing attractive some way, more. Like, I was 20 years and all over the world. I had a great time doing it, but it was a different era. The Irish Examiner or the Irish Independent or the Irish Press, remember them days? I was around for those days. That was all we had to worry about on a Monday, and what was written about you. And it was just the journalist that was there. That was it. That was all that was there. About 5 or 6 journalists. It was a box office. They sat in the box, and that was it. The opinion. How did this guy get on? And they used to rate him. But now you're getting lambasted from decision to decision to decision. Twitter is just absolutely destroying lads. And I don't know how they're going to make it more attractive, but they need to start at the start, rip up the book and start again.
I presume, like, any time you make a decision and there's something written about you in a paper, there's people more or less coming to you saying, hey, did you see what was written about you? Now, number one, do you remember any particular incidents when things were said about you online or in papers and it got to you? And, like, in general, did you ever think about quitting refereeing because of the treatment you'd be getting?
Yeah, you'd be low when it happens. There was one journalist described me as the Robin Hood of GA refereeing. I was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. I don't know what he meant to that, but there was one guy. There was one, we'll say, member of the public. I don't know, would you even call him a member of the public? I did a Munster football final, and I'd be on about Shawnee Buckley there. He was playing for Limerick at the time. He's involved in our own club, and it was Limerick and Cork down in Cork at the time, and I gave a penalty to Cork in good faith during the first half. And if I had my time back and telling the truth, I probably wouldn't have given it. It was on the softest side, and I stuck the 2 arms out and I gave a penalty to Cork. Limerick were on top at the time, put Cork back into the game, and after that, they were on my back after that. But I was a young lad at the time. I was after doing All Ireland minor final 08, so it was 09, so there was no Twitter. There was no nothing. It was the written word. But some guy went out of his way to cut out paper clippings, as you do, to take words out of paper clippings, stick them onto a page, find, I'm an electrical contractor, and my dad was before, so find the outlet's address and posted that off to the mother. So the mother, I came in or whatever one morning, the mother says, "There's post there for you, Rory." I said, "Open that, man, we see what's in it." And Sure, I can't repeat here. People wouldn't like what I'd have to say, but I won't repeat it. But my mother read that, and at that time she asked me, Rory, is this worth it, So I actually handed that down to the Gardaí and Ennis at the time, it was that serious. But Mick Curley was our chairman at the time. Remember Mick from Galway?
Yeah.
Long time I was refereeing inter-county football, and just Mick spoke to me in the hour on the phone for an hour, and I was really thinking about jacking that time, but gathered myself and things went well after that. Did an All-Ireland club final, Connacht final, and went all over the world with it, and good times, great friends out of it. But that was the toughest I had to deal with, and every inter-county ref in the country probably has a story to tell about that too. But now it's the old DMs and the Twitter or what's said about them online and stuff. But you have to rise above it. But some lads sometimes it's very, very hard.
And on the flip side, what's the most enjoyable game you ever refereed? Like, is there games where, like, obviously you have to be diligent throughout, but was there ever a game when you were like, this is unbelievable stuff here, and you've got the front row seat?
I did my, you'll get your provincial final, and I did my Connacht football final, I think 2014, 2015. I was flying it. Spinning was a big thing around the country at the time. I'd lost a good stone. I've put back on since now. But, I was flying it. I went up to do Galway and Mayo above in McHale Park, and the black card had been introduced. There was a penalty in the game. It was a black card. But just as I mind telling you, I was good at that. Get down the road anyway. But you love this though. Get down the road anyways. Happy as a pig in BJ's is up the town with Mrs. Hickey on the Sunday night, and we had a few beers and off to work on Monday, and she was making me the favourite dinner Monday evening, the bit of bacon and cabbage appeared around 6 o'clock. I don't know how many kids I had at the time, 1 or 2 maybe, and next thing there was a knock at the door. I told you I'm living across the road from the GA club. No one had shown up for the under 14 kiddies match across the road. Sure, I was in a tracksuit out of the working gear, and cock of the hoop, I was after flying it the day before. So it's over here, playing whoever, can't remember who they were playing. And ref the match away, ref and the tracksuit kids were running up and down. It was grand, So the secretary of the opposition club came out, and she was shaking my hand, and signed a bit of paper for him. She said, "Jesus Christ," she said, "we've had some guys here and they've been abominable. You weren't too bad, She said, "You might have a future in this crack." She says, will I give you the number? Will I give you the number of the county secretary? You should give him a ring. There's a course coming up there in a couple of months. You should apply for it and do it." And the chairman coming behind, I had played football with up along. Sure, he fell over the ground. He was. I just said, "Look, I said I might think about it, So I done great the day before, but I was really brought back down with hurt the day after.
That's the GA for you now, without a doubt.
That's the GA, yeah.